As a parent, I didn't have the best time navigating online learning with my kids. So I decided to catch up with some parents to find out what their experience was like and if they're worried about learning losses and what it was like for children with disabilities. During this time, in what ways has the pandemic humbled you as a parent?
I'm a single parent, and so my anxiety and my mental health took a dip. And so it has been a struggle to make sure that my children are doing well when I'm not doing well.
So to be completely frank, people with autism have a lot of practice with isolation. My son desperately requires routine to function, and not being able to tell him, when he's going to be able to go back to school, not being able to participate in his social activities has been a really, really big struggle for him. Because when you're dealing with a person who has additional needs, it takes a toll on you.
At the beginning of the pandemic, my daughter was 6 and she didn't know how to use the computer. So when they started online learning, every 5 seconds she's like, "Mommy, how do you spell this?" And I was like, "I don't know." Google, how do you spell that? But what was your online learning experience like?
My daughter is deaf, and she was born deaf, and she wears hearing aids. And when we transitioned to online learning, the teacher's mic or internet would drop. And at one point, my daughter just broke down and started crying. And she said, "My ears aren't working. I can't hear the teacher." So I didn't know how parents were doing it while maintaining a 9-to-5 job. I know I couldn't emotionally or mentally do it.
In terms of online learning, I had to be there full time, but I'm not a teacher. I'm not an expert in teaching my son how to use new things. From the outside, trying to get support was nearly impossible. And he really struggled. And the same affect does not come through on the screen as it does in real life. Especially for kids on the spectrum, they really rely on, body language and facial expression and social cues.
I think when the pandemic hit, the first few months, I think we all understood that, okay, this is what we need to do. This has never happened before. But then when it kind of rolled into the second year and it was kind of the same thing.
I'm emotionally exhausted. I am hanging on by a thread. Most parents are. It's a lot of work. And so it's hard. I don't see the government doing anything to alleviate the emotional labor that women in our community, the advanced emotional labor that we are asked to do.
I think this government was failing our children and failing parents. During the pandemic, especially kids with disabilities, they really felt like an afterthought. Stephen Lecce, who's the Minister of Education, he would go on and talk about how they're going to provide all these extra supports for children with disabilities over the pandemic. But it was really an afterthought because the principal called me and said, you can bring your son to school if you want. We're obligated to provide him a space here, but I have to let you know that who he's going to be with isn't going to be your son's regular support person. We're not even sure if we're going to be able to teach him the curriculum. And so
How did you feel when you heard that?
Well, I opted to keep him home because I thought, well, at the very least, I can help him access the curriculum. But this is a human rights issue. We're talking about Canada. We're talking about, a country that is supposed to be known for their social supports. When Lecce announced the additional, parent support, like a few $100, I'm thinking to myself, well, what good is that going to do? Hire teachers. Let's put that money back into the system. This particular government, I really don't think that they really care all that much, to be honest.
Do you think as if the government has abandoned you?
I think the government has abandoned my community. I wouldn't say that it's abandoned me as an individual because I know there are other people in the same place as me. But yes, has this government abandoned us? 100%.
I feel abandoned.
Yeah.
I personally feel abandoned. My community, which is vast and intersectional. It is queer, it is single parents, it's racialized. And this government, this conservative provincial government has let me down, has let other immigrants down, has let other parents down, and most of all has put our children in the firing range. The lack of policy and lack of follow through and lack of supports to make sure that our children are educated safely and in an environment that is conducive for learning.
When you think about the last 2 years, especially when it comes to education and the loss and the gaps, how much of a learning loss have your children experienced within this time?
You know, my son, he's 16. This all started a couple years ago, and I know that there's another window of neuroplasticity during puberty. So I know he missed that. He's been with me 24/7. You know, I've been everything to him. And now he's going back to school, and the routine is restarting. And he's 16, and I'm starting to see him being extremely clingy again. You know, instead of this happy-go-lucky kid that just enjoyed the world, he's gained a lot of anxiety and fear, and that's where I see a huge regression.
It's been a lot of work. It has been a full-time job, I can say, trying to keep my children on target for what they should be at and for the level that they should be at. I feel like it's holding sand. I just see it slipping through. Much like a lot of Black parents, we've already, even before the pandemic, had to step in as teachers to make sure that our children are not just doing the average or doing okay, but they're excelling, because we see the ways in which the system treats racialized children differently.
That chat was part of The Thread with Nam Kiwanuka. For more content like this, hit the subscribe button and check out our other videos. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at TVO The Thread. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.